Hello, everybody. All right. All right. Sorry about the late start, everybody. I know we started an hour later, but you know, sometimes technical issues happen. And sometimes they're out of your control, which is exactly what happened here. Um, just before I was about to go on, lo and behold, our internet decided to go down. My sister was telling me it was probably due to the fact that they were updating it, but basically, it's just kind of the poopy part of this stuff, right? So anyways, let me just do some last bit of promoting here, just to let everybody know that I am on. The people might be in. Hopefully, we can get some people on, even though we're starting a little bit later due to the fact of course, just the technical difficulties that happened. And of course, no matter what time you do stuff like this, there's always going to be a chance of competition. So, anyways, just trying to drum up some viewers here. So once I finish that, then I will go ahead and talk about what's on tap for tonight and get started here. All right, so now that we've done all that, maybe we'll get some viewers here. Anyways, alrighty then. So we're just gonna let's see. Well, considering we're starting late, I might as well just get going here. Since I just do a couple more things here real quick. Alrighty then. So most of you will probably end up watching this on the replay, which is fine. At least I'll still get it out to where people are gonna probably be able to watch it here. So basically, as I said, we just had some technical issues, unfortunately, beyond my control. Not happy about it, mind you, but you know how it goes sometimes. Uh, so let's see, how far are we into this now? We're almost 4 minutes in. So here's what's on tap for tonight. I got a couple of articles from Bounding into Comics. We're going to talk about Saudi Arabian broadcaster NBC officially joining Fuji TV's and TV Asahi's production committees. And I think we were kind of warned about this. Yellow Flash, I know, was talking about that a while back, but more in reference to the countries here in the states and elsewhere. But and Los Angeles' oldest comic shop shuts down. Um, so we'll get into all that. Get into all that here. Plus, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up and the wrestling wrap up as well as the this day in each history segments towards the end. So without any further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started? We're just about coming up on 5 minute mark here, so I'll go ahead and get started here. Hopefully we'll get some viewers in here. Alrighty then. So, Saudi Arabian broadcaster NBC Group officially joins Fuji TV and TV Asahi production committees, announces Arabic simulcast for, in smaller quotes, Protocol Rain and Yoko Taro's Kamiarabi God.app. Article by Spencer McCauley, published October 24th, which was yesterday. All right. So, anyways, see if I got any kind of response. No, it's not. All right then. So, anyways, all right. So, in extending the Middle Eastern kingdom's ever-growing international media interest into the world of anime, Saudi Arabian entertainment conglomerate Middle East Broadcasting Center Group, I guess that's where they get the MBC from, has announced, albeit it probably should be MEBC, but maybe somebody else already has those initials for it. So, anyways, has announced that they have not only joined the production committees of notable Japanese broadcasters Fuji TV, TV Asahi, but in doing so, secured Arabic language simulcast for two of their upcoming series, Protocol Rain and Yoko Taro's Kamiarabi God.app. This development was first announced to the public on October 20th, which was this past Friday, courtesy of a press release issued by NBC Group themselves. Therein, the company unveiled both the existence of, quote, NBC Anime, a strategic initiative by NBC Group and Tokyo Pop dedicated to the licensing, promotion, and production of anime content in the region, unquote, and the NBC Group's own investments in the aforementioned series. Granted, we'll have to see how all this plays out, but I know one of the things we run the risk of in these situations is just how much influence Saudi Arabia is going to have on the creativity, that Japan will be allowed to do here. So, quote, the shows, which are from Fuji TV and TV Asahi, will stream exclusively on Shahid, the world's leading Arabic streaming platform by NBC Group, unquote. Company detailed, quote, in order to cater to current and future anime enthusiasts in the Middle East and North Africa, MENA, NBC Anime is also now part of the production committees of both Japanese broadcasters. And I know that one of the things that when Yellow Flash talked about this stuff, when it came to the American companies like Sony and all, well, Sony we know is Japanese, but like some of their U.S. like Crunchyroll, all that. The genuine worry is that maybe some of these people who are not as familiar with Japanese culture or Japanese interests, or would try to censor certain things that are more allowable in Japanese culture, and thus ultimately possibly ruining the experience of watching it. Depends upon what NBC will be doing here. The first series, TV Asahi's Protocol Rain, centers on one Shun Tokinoya, a high school student who has taken to video games, and in particular esports, with a burning passion as a way to cope with his father's death. However, when the cruel realities of real world bills come knocking, Shun pledges himself to winning the upcoming uh, Zazarian tournament and using its prize money to allow himself the financial space to engage with the hobby. Owned by Squid Girl and Valkyrie Chronicles director Yasutaka Yamamoto, um, penned by Miss Kurotsu from the Monster Development Department, writer Katsuhiko Takayama, and featuring original character designs from I Shaved and Took in a High School Runaway, light novel illustrator Buta, and Rent a Girlfriend animator Kana Hirayama. All 12 episodes of Protocol Rain are set to hit Shahid this year. And then I guess that's that right there. And I guess the Japanese voice for Shun Takinoya is Kensho Ono. Coming from the minds of Nier Automata director Yoko Taro, Kagero Daze creator Jin, and Gamera Rebirth director Hiroyuki Sashita, the second series to be simulcast on Shahid will be Fuji TV's Kami God app, a battle royal type series wherein its cast of high school students fight against each other in the hopes of becoming a god. Actually, it sounds very similar to um, the Law of Ueki. That was kind of another one, kind of like that, where in Law of Ueki, though, the current gods gave powers to who they designated to be what they called god candidates, and the winner would turn out to be, God himself. So, um, anyways, with character designs provided by Soul Eater and Fire Force mangaka Atsushi Okubo, um, both the entire 13 episode first season and planned second season of Kami Arabi God app will hit the Arabic platform as it releases. Concluding their press release, NBC Group asserted, quote, with many more productions on the horizon to complement a diverse range of acquisitions, NBC Anime plans to introduce the dynamic and exciting world of anime to the MENA with a fan-centric, holistic approach. For viewers outside of the MENA region, English language simulcast of both currently airing series are being offered exclusively by Crunchyroll. So, of course, as always, they'll probably have an English adaptation of those for people to be able to watch as well in the states if you wanted to get a look at those. So, anyways, and as always, of course, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer those questions to the best of my ability. Anyways, all right, so let's get ready to move on to the next article here. All right, so here we go with this one. Right, so Los Angeles's oldest comic shops shut down, put blame on COVID, Marvel, and DC. Article by John F. Trent, published yesterday, October 24th. So here we go. Los Angeles' oldest comic shops, Jeffrey's Comics and Heidi Ho Comics, which both opened in 1977, are shutting down. So 1977, 46 years ago. For a lot of us, that would spend most of our lifetimes, if not all of it. For some, even part of it. So, in a post to Facebook, Jeffrey's Comics announced, quote, Jeffrey's Comics and Heidi Ho Comics opened in 1977. We were literally the first comic book stores in Los Angeles. And now, sadly, Jeffrey's and Heidi Ho Comics must close their doors December 31st, 2023. Because they're owned by the same guy, I guess. While the shops are shutting their doors, the business is going to attempt to keep all pull lists going for customers. The Post explains, quote, our pull service will continue on. Jeffries and Idaho Comics would love to keep our most loyal customers and continue to offer our pull service as a delivery option. Quote, Jeffries Comics pull parties will be found at locations around the city, unquote. The business adds, quote, we are also reaching out to coffee houses to offer different times and days for you to stop by, pick up your comics, and hang out with other fellow superfans. Even though Jeffries and Heidi Ho must close their doors, they will live on in this new exciting form where we can still gather and share our enjoyment together. I guess they're transitioning from more of a retail space type operation to like a maybe online distribution model, I guess, where you can keep going, to an online store and then they'll. As for why the comic shop is shutting down, an image attached to the Facebook explains, quote, it wasn't one single thing that caused this closure, though COVID was a major contributing factor, unquote. Jeffrey's Comics explained, quote, the shutdowns depleted our savings and grants, which strained us to the breaking point. A year prior to the pandemic, we signed a long-term lease to be closer to the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. But COVID left us unable to make the rent. Still, we soldiered on. We moved to a smaller location while eventually finding a sublease um, sublessee um, for the location we were legally responsible for. Quote, unfortunately, between payments owed from the pandemic to the loss of our sublessee, um, we are not in the position to pay our landlord what is now being demanded in full, unquote, the shop explained. As for Marvel and DC's role, the shop stated, quote, for the first 40 years, Diamond Comics was our single service supplier. As they lost the rights to distribute Marvel and DC Comics, what had once become a streamlined process, or doing one order and picking up from one location, became multiple orders with multiple ways of delivery, with multiple days of release. The shop asserted, quote, the powerhouse that used to be, smaller quote, New Comics Wednesday, unquote, has ceased to be, and with it, a lot of the spending habits of the customer base, unquote. The company also noted that cost of their tabletop business had also increased. Quote, a large part of our business tabletop card gaming has continued to grow more expensive to the retailer as companies seek to find new avenues to sell directly to the customer or through online marketplace and big box retailers. Big box retailers, I think what they're talking about are like Walmart, um, you know, well, Walmart's the only one I can think. Savers, maybe, um, those kind of companies. Well, one of the most popular card games in the world now sells for less through Amazon than what we have to pay for getting it through our distributor. In addition to specialty product that was never made available to us through wholesale, unquote, the shop noted, quote, simply put, it is an unstable situation for us, and we worry about the retailers that remain. I mean, we've been hearing a lot about how retailers, not just retailers from across the country, have been suffering because of some of the changes that have been made in the last few years, and of course, again, the whole fear of how automation, and in this case, in publishing aspect, the whole idea of digital online distribution, how that really can cut into. And Kim is here. Hey, Kim. You can help out by liking and sharing the stream. You've said quite a few things. Now, just to let you know, the reason I started late tonight is because I had some technical difficulties. The internet at my house here went down, so that's why we started late here. So let's see what you're asking here. So, what's your favorite 2001 anime? Fruity Basket. I would say if I understand correctly, I'm not sure if this one came out in 2001 or a little later, but I think Dot Hack Shine came out in 2001. If that's the case, that would be my favorite 2001 anime. Um, let's see. Did you watch Yu-Gi-Oh? I've watched the dubbed versions of now granted like GX for example didn't have all the episodes. Didn't do the last they didn't do the last season, but I've seen the dub season. What's your favorite DC superhero from Justice League? I guess I'm kind of a tradition. If I do have to pick a favorite, probably Batman. um, what's your favorite Chris Mayak anime voice actor interview? Don't have one because I don't even know who Chris Mayak is. Let's see. Did you watch Full Metal? Yes, I did. Another one of my favorites, especially Fumofu. Fumofu, I would say, is probably one of the best comedic animes of all time. My personal opinion. So let's see now. What's your favorite car? Don't have one because I don't drive. Can't get a license, so because of my eyesight. Is Wonder Woman or Hot Girl weaker? Hmm. I guess it depends upon which versions you're talking about. Um, if you're comparing, let's say, the Golden Age or Earth 2 versions, well, I think for the most part, I think Wonder Woman is stronger between the two through most incarnations. So Hawk Girl's probably weaker overall. There might be depending upon which Hawk Girl they're talking about, though. There might be one that might be strong Wonder Woman, but I think overall Wonder Woman is the who's stronger, so Hawk Girl is the one who's probably weaker. What's your favorite Wendy Lee performance? Um, I like her in a lot of things. She's she's somebody who's pretty good to listen to. I don't know if I have one specific favorite because she's been a lot of things over the years. I think her career spans all the way back to the '80s. As far as I know. Um, and I think it was you who mentioned this to me the other day. I did hear a little bit more about that situation you were telling me about with Wendy Lee and Inari Kionis. All right. So I guess what happened there, because I was watching something from Hero Hey earlier, and that's how I found out a little more about it. So I guess for Thousand Year Blood War, what they did is they replaced Wendy with Inari as the voice of Yoriichi, and that I guess is where this whole schism stems from. But from what I've also heard, I guess eventually they gave the role back to Wendy. So now initially, by the way by what little information I had, I just pretty much assumed it was just one of those old versus younger situations where somebody's older, fearing that the younger star will take their spot, as it were. But in this case, granted, I don't know much more than that. All I know is that it stems from, I guess, they decided to recast Yoriichi, the cat slash female Shinigami, she's a female voice of Yoriichi. She's a female. The cat is, I think, somebody else, but Wendy Lee, of course, is the human form of Yoriichi. But that's where that stems from. So that's I guess in the name of diversity, they decided to try to cast Inari over it, and then but for whatever reason, apparently, from what I heard, they gave the role back to Wendy Lee. So, and a lot of this is stemming from the whole, because here's another thing. I decided not to cover this article, one, because it's a couple of days old already, but apparently one of the voice actors who is all, yeah, we need more diversity, more diversity, more diversity. Now it's feeling the negative effects of that line of thinking. Sungwoo Cho is stating that now he's basically not getting any other roles because he's just getting Asian roles because now they're doing the whole diversity thing. So, but anyways, back to the article here. Back to the article here. So the owner of the stores also indicated he's been suffering from some health issues as well. Jeffrey Patterson II said, quote, I was diagnosed with a nerve disorder that causes constant pain and migraines. I regularly lose vision in one eye, randomly vomit uncontrollably, suffer pinched nerves and cramps in my back, and even lose the ability to verbally articulate. I simply can't physically do all the work necessary to run a business in the 21st century. Well, I mean, if this guy's been at it for the last 46 years, you got to understand. Jerry Patterson, I don't know if this is the same guy who started the business or if this is maybe the son of the original owner, but he's probably been at it for quite some time. So, I mean, you can probably imagine the wear and tear he's probably sustained. Patterson II added, quote, while all the aforementioned things contributed, I ultimately can only blame myself. I made mistakes, I ordered too much, and kept hoping those pre-COVID numbers would return. Some days now don't even have a third of the don't even have a third of the revenue they did pre-COVID. It is very hard to stay in business, losing over 50% of our revenues. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would hurt any business, no matter what type of business you're in. It would probably hurt any business. So, anyways, as we of course get back to he went on, quote, ignoring the writing on the wall that the world had changed permanently during COVID, the customers in nearly every business were trained to get everything they need online. We all spent a year inside and learned that everything we wanted was available for delivery. And when the world did reopen, we all just kept ordering everything online. Yeah, which I think personally, I think that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing. You need to get out at least once in a while. You need to get out and actually interact with people face to face. I mean, yes, interacting online like this, like we do here, is cool and all that, but you need to get out. You need to exercise. You need fresh air. You need to actually interact with other people because as human beings, that's what we were made to do. You know, um, and that's the whole thing about the whole COVID scare and the whole power grab that those in power did with that. You know, you're if anything, you're more likely to build immunity to something by exposing yourself to it, not trying to hide from it. So anyways, as we continue on here, let's see anything new. Nope, nothing new there. And as always, of course, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, I'd be appreciated. Also, feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything grabs your attention, and I'll do the best I can to answer those questions. As we continue on here with the article here, quote, I kept hoping over and over again that those customers would make their way back, but I lost too many customers. Where once there was one option for comics, now there are hundreds of places: Target, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, movie theaters, digital downloads, libraries, countless others. Well, the thing is, though, is some of those places were options even back in the 70s and 80s, because like I remember growing up and going up to going up to my local Lucky's, and they'd have a little section where there'd be comic books. A lot of grocery stores have magazine areas. Have magazines. In fact, I used to get some of the wrestling magazines at some of these places. Now again you don't see as much of that because of course you got things like WrestleMania to look at. But anyways, quote, Jeffries and Heidi Ho went from zero competition to 100 competitors in the blink of an eye, unquote, Patterson asserted. Quote, I didn't want to admit that my health had left me in a place where running two businesses wasn't possible, unquote. He continued, quote, having literally blinding pain at random times throughout the week makes changes difficult to implement. Everything slowed down when I needed to be working faster than ever. In fact, our biggest mistake was that we should have closed during COVID. I just didn't want to admit that Jeffries and Heidi Ho could not survive in the same version it was pre-COVID, unquote. Quote, Jeffrey and Heidi Ho have always been more than stores to me, unquote, he said. Quote, more than a business, they were a home to me and my employees. And I loved welcoming you all into our home every Wednesday. Yeah, and the thing is too, again, that the thing about one of the more positive things about retailers, right? About going to an actual store to buy your comics is the opportunity to actually interact with people, interact with other comic fans, whether they be the employees of the stores or other people who go in there to shop. We're human beings, for crying out loud. We need to be in the presence of each other. Okay? Online like this is okay. It does, on the one hand, it does expand our circle of friends because it's like, through social media, we can talk to friends. We can have friends. I'm here in California, and and of course, as you guys know, among the other YouTubers that I follow, we've got a number of them in the South. We got one in Arkansas, one in Tennessee, one in I think couple in Louisiana, right? One in Georgia. We have one YouTuber up in New York. We have a couple in Canada, a couple in Texas. We have one in we have of course a husband and wife duo in Massachusetts. We have one in Idaho. So on the one hand, yeah, it's great be able to communicate and make connections with people from all across the country online. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you need to get out and you need to interact with people face to face. Because even the whole idea of texting or messaging, yeah, you could write out, you can type out a little message here and there. One thing is that unless you actually are with somebody, you can't see their body language, you can't see their facial expressions. It's a lot harder to read them, through messaging and through a screen than you can when you're right there with them. And I don't mean like, touching them, but I mean you're like within like 5 feet of them, 5-10 feet of them. We're human beings. That's what we're made for, right? To interact with each other, to be in each other's presence. So, and for those of you who just came in, because I did see an increase in viewership here, just to kind of let you guys know in case you didn't, and of course you could have also gone back and seen the replay on this earlier. I had some technical difficulties, and that's why I ended up starting an hour later than usual. My internet went down for a while, so couldn't really get back up for an hour. So we had a special late edition here. But as always, if you guys haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that would be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will do the best I can to answer those questions. With all that being said, let's get back to the article here. Let's see now, where were we? All right, the same passion that led us to keeping a comic store open for 40 years. All right, so maybe he was the guy who started it, and if he's been doing this for now it would be like 46 years. Even if he started at the very young, let's say this is the guy who did it, he started it let's say he started it right out of high school. Let's say he started it at age 18 or something like that. Okay, 46 years. So that would make him today, 64. And that's if he started at 18. Now, it's more likely he started when he was like 25 or 30, which, of course, 46 years, and that would make him probably in his 70s. But point being, of course, this guy's been at it for a long time, and time, as with all of us, eventually catches up. Right? So, anyways, getting back to the article here. Was also the same passion that made me ignore the signs that the world had changed permanently. Unquote. Jeffrey's Comics and Heidi Ho Comic will remain open until the end of the year when they will officially shutter. As noted above, the business will attempt to transition into a delivery business with offerings to places of businesses as well as residential. Delivery is free if one has more than 10 books to be delivered. Quote, we will hold your pull until you have 10 books. This can be from 1 week or multiple weeks. The shop explained. End quote. The shop explained. You want the books delivered before you have 10 waiting. The delivery fee will be $5. Comics will be delivered on Wednesdays between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. What do you make of Jeffrey's Comics and Heidi Ho Comics shutting down? Yeah, it's kind of a shame. And again, this whole idea of people shutting themselves in, ultimately not really a good thing. Really not. You need personal interaction. It doesn't mean you have to be like Siamese twins or anything like that, but as a society, we do better when we can actually physically interact with each other, when we're in each other's presence, and we can read each other's body language and read each other's facial expressions. That's how it's meant. That's how it's meant to be. So, anyways, that being said, see, we're all the way up to 43 minutes. So those two articles did take me quite a bit of time to get through. I had a lot of commentary on those. So, anyway, I guess we'll get ready to move on to the next piece of business here, the next set of stuff, the wrestling wrap up. So in WWE news, of course, on last night's NXT, Becky Lynch dropped the NXT Women's title. Let's see. She dropped it to. Let's see. I can't even remember what the girl's name was now. Let me find that. Yeah, as part of last night's Halloween Havoc, Becky Lynch dropped the NXT Women's title to Lyra Valkyrie or Valkyria. Now it was said that the reason was here. So apparently Becky Lynch suffered some injuries recently, and part of the reason that a couple of reasons why they had Becky Lynch win the title in the first place. One was to draw more, was to try to show NXT more as an equal brand to Raw and SmackDown, not just as a developmental brand. And also, they wanted to kind of keep Becky and Rhea Ripley, who's the current World Women's Champion on Raw, I believe, or SmackDown. You know, those two separated. They, I think, are planning a program at some point between now and WrestleMania, but for WrestleMania 40. Also, of course, on last night's NXT, you also had Blair Davenport defeat Gigi Dolan in a lights out match. They also crowned new NXT Tag Team Champions as Chase U of Andre Chase and Duke Hudson, defeating the family of Channing, Lorenzo, and Tony Delangelo. In the NXT Women's Breakout Tournament semifinal, Kalani Jordan defeated Ariana Grace, and Lola Vice defeated Carmen Petrovic. Roxanne Perez defeated Kiana James in a Devil's Playground match. And that's all that was on. That was basically all the significant stuff that was on NXT last night. Now, of course, for tonight's Dynamite, as we mentioned earlier, there are a few things going on for tonight's Dynamite. So for tonight's Dynamite, of course, the main event was going to see the team representing New Japan's Chaos faction of AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy and Katsuchika Okada taking on the Blackpool Combat Club members of Claudio Castagnoli and Bryan Danielson. Hikaru Shida was defending the AEW Women's World title against Ruby Soho tonight. The Elite of Adam Page and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, were defending the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Championships against the Hardys and Isaiah Cassidy. Rob Van Dam made his wrestling return to Philadelphia, teaming with Hook to take on Dark Order members Alex Reynolds and John Silver. And, of course, for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, for the finals of that match, Juice Robinson, who won the Battle Royal last week to earn the shot, was taking on AEW World Champion MJF for that. So that's all that's going on tonight. And in some interesting NWA news, and we'll probably have more for that as Samhain's coming up this Saturday. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Some NWA news. Billy Corgan has apparently expressed interest trying to get CM Punk to go to NWA. The only reason that most people believe that's not going to happen, and even Billy Corgan acknowledges this himself, is that, of course, at this point, the NWA, the National Wrestling Line, doesn't have the kind of money to be able to bring Punk in long term. They might be able to get him to come in for a pay-per-view, but aside from that, chances of CM Punk being, even though we have heard some differing stories that not only NWA but also Impact, which will be coming TNA again, have shown interest in having him come in, despite the issues he's caused in other promotions. He's basically persona non grata in WWE, even though people keep saying that WWE keeps kind of teasing the possibility he might come back. He's definitely not going back to AEW anytime soon. I think there's just too much stuff there. Hey, Rick, thanks for dropping in. Granted, I started late tonight due to the fact that had some technical issues right before the show's normal start time. Our internet went down here, so started an hour later. So, but hopefully you'll go back and watch the show again on replay and find out what we talked about. We're kind of getting ready to wind down here. I was just going over like the wrestling wrap up here, and I think I've hit on everything there. And thank you for the like and share, by the way. So with that, now that we're done with all that, Now it's a good time to take a look back at this day in each history. History! So today is Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. Let's take a look back at this day in each history. 1998, 2013, and 2018. All right. All right, so first off, we're going to head back 75 years ago today, as on this date, 75 years ago today, back in 1948, the 30th issue of Laugh Comics from Archie Comics under their Close Up Incorporated brand went on sale on this date back in 1948. It was a bi-monthly title. It was a bit of an anthology, which of course featured Archie, Betty and Veronica, Debbie Twist, Susie, Katie Kane, Wilbur. So on this date, 75 years ago today, the 30th issue of Laugh Comics went on sale on this date 30 years ago. So, anyways, getting ready to move on to the next piece in each history. Going back to 1998. On this date in 1998, WCW held its Halloween Havoc event from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. This was noteworthy because the pay-per-view was running longer than scheduled. As a result, several thousand people lost the pay-per-view feed at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, which was during the world title match. The following night, WCW decided to correct the problem by airing the entire match for free on WCW Monday Nitro. So basically, they ran long, and a lot of cable companies back then had stricter guidelines where, okay, once a certain time hits, that's it, even if you're not done, you know. And that's exactly what happened here. Now, at that event, of course, in the main event, Goldberg retained the WCW World Title over Diamond Dallas Page. This is also the night where Hulk Hogan, as Hollywood Hogan, as part of the NWO, got his loss back from Warrior from 8 years prior at WrestleMania 6. Bret Hart retained the WCW United States Heavyweight title over Sting. Scott Hall defeated Kevin Nash by countout. Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell defeated the Giant and Scott Steiner to become WCW World Tag Champions. Billy Kidman defeated Disco Inferno for the WCW Cruiserweight title. And among some of the other matches of note included Saturn defeating Lodi, Alex Wright defeating Fit Finlay. Chris Jericho started off the show by retaining the World Television Championship over Raven. So on this date, 30 years ago today, WCW held its Halloween Havoc event from the MGM Grand Garden Arena. So also, moving on to 2013, on this date in 2013, Marsha Wallace passed away at the age of 70. Marsha Wallace had been a long-time fixture on TV, both in live action and in animation. She was, of course, a regular panelist on such shows as Password Plus, Super Password. She, lent her, and aside from her live action roles, of course, I think she was also part of the Carol Burnett show. She also lent her voice to a number of animated characters, most notably Edna Krabappel in The Simpsons. She was also Miss Kavanagh in Darkwing Duck. She was a dark interlude actress in the Batman animated series episode Mudslide. She portrayed Mrs. Wheeler in Captain Planet Talking Trash, which I believe was the mother of Wheeler. She lent her voice to a number of characters, but on this date, 10 years ago, Marshall Wallace passed away at the age of 70 from pneumonia and sepsis. And finally, on this date 5 years ago today, J.C. Staff's Million Arthur premiered on Japanese TV on this date 5 years ago today. So 5 years ago today, Million Arthur from J.C. Staff, which was an anime that was based on an adaptation of, I guess, of a video game, Million Arthur video game from Square Phoenix. On this date 5 years ago today. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I'm sorry, as I said, for the late start. Things happen sometimes, though. As I said, we had some technical issues. And with that, I hope everybody had. And of course, we will be back here tomorrow. I'm pretty sure of that. That's another technical issue pops up with more niche news. Of course, tomorrow we'll be covering most likely. We'll probably be covering the Bleeding Fool. We'll probably be covering the Indie Comic Showcase if they have that up tomorrow. They have that up already. Let me just check to see, and most likely they do. Verify. Yeah. Yes, it looks like they do. So we will be covering that tomorrow. Indie Comic Showcase number 245. We'll be going over that article, and then of course, don't forget on Friday, Tim Olson will be joining me as we will be looking back through comics history, as we will be going over comics that went on sale from Hillman Comics. We'll be introducing everybody to Hillman Comics, Hillman periodicals. Be looking at Miracle Comics Volume 1, Issue 1, and Rocket Comics Volume 1, Issue 1. Some interesting stories coming out of those books. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about some of the early days of Hillman Comics as well, getting everybody introduced to that company. So with that, thank everybody for being here. Sorry I wasn't able to go on at my regular time, but we did get started an hour later. So hopefully, and don't forget, you guys can always go back and watch the show again if you want to get caught up on some of the news items that we talked about tonight, that we went over tonight. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe as well, to where you'll get the notifications when we're on. And I do try to, and as most of you already know, I do my best to try to make sure I keep my times. Sometimes there are just things out of my control, like what happened tonight. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.